Welcome back to the Coach's Corner. Sitting with us is Coach Gary Gaines of the Permian Panthers. Welcome back to the show, Coach.
Thank you very much.
What an exciting week for the Panthers.
Well, it was an exciting game. Cedar Hill, of course, is very, they've run up a lot of points, and they've got an outstanding football team, and it really turned into a track meet because neither team could really seem to stop the other. There was nearly 1,200 yards of total offense between the two schools. And a really hot day, one of the hotter days for a game that I've ever been involved with. And I was really proud of our players because they hung in there, and we played a lot of guys just because of the type of game that it was, and the heat in particular really was a factor.
And the kids stayed tough through the whole game and through all that heat. And
they really did. Our offense really clicked. We didn't have any turnovers, and defensively we had an interception late in the game by Jordan Wilson, who had an outstanding game as a cornerback. And then we got a fumble on their last drive that would have given them an opportunity to go for two, and then onside kick. And Christian Lockcher caused that fumble and recovered it himself on a quarterback sack. But it was, we had two backs. The Anthony Fay rushed for over 200 yards, and Greg George had 60 or 70 yards. And we had some touchdown passes. Van Powell caught one. And it was just a really offensive line blocked extremely well. Their best game. And you look back 2 weeks ago at Smithson Valley and the offensive production we had there and the offensive production that we had this week at Cedar Hill. You know, I think you have to give those offensive linemen a lot of credit because that's kind of where it's won or lost up front, and those guys really did a great job.
Coach, what's changed in the Permian offense from the Smithson Valley game to this Cedar Hill game?
I don't know. Schematically, there hasn't been anything that we've done differently. I think it's just a matter of our offensive line. You know, that's a really intricate piece of the puzzle, and those guys have got to work as those five guys have to work as one. And I think we only had one returning starter, and that was Eric Bilbrey at center, and I think those others are just kind of the lights coming on a little bit and playing with a little bit more confidence. And you know, that's a critical area and one that we're glad to see the improvement that they have made.
Now your defense, boy, they were running all over the field, and it was difficult to stop that talented group.
It really was, and you know, we got some stops, but you know, we'd score and then they would score, and you know, they just have some awesome personnel. You know, they hurt us a lot with the screen game, and you know, they had a few runs. Not, you know, the passes was probably a little bit bigger concern of ours than the running game, but they just have a good football team, and that quarterback is the real deal, and he's got a lot of escape ability. You know, if you blitz him or try to get a really hard rush on him, he can flush the pocket and get out and complete a pass down the field. And they played hard. I can't question their effort at all. And you know, those two turnovers that we talked about earlier, I think, were really important parts of the game.
As a spectator, Coach, one of the things that stood out was, you know, of course, great offensive performance, you know, defense working as hard as they could, but what really stood out was how hard the kids worked all the way till the final, till there were zeros on the clock.
Well, we subbed a lot, and I think effort was one of those, one of the great efforts that they've had up to this point in the season, and we'll have to continue that trend. And they played hard, and they were ready to play. We caught Cedar Hill on a good time. You know, they had a short week, and so I think all those factors played into the victory.
Well, as you look, and would you view this as a turning point for your program moving up into that next level of football teams in the state?
Well, you'd hope so. You know, I think it's all relative to how it goes from here. You know, I think it could be. You know, I don't want this to be a defining moment of our season. You know, it was a great game, but I don't want that to be what defines the team at the end of the year. And so I hope we use it as a stepping stone.
How do you keep those young people focused? Typically after a big win like this, they're feeling pretty good about themselves.
Well, and they'll be getting congratulations today from the student body and the teachers and everything. And we talked to them this morning about putting it to rest. That's history now, and winning or losing that game makes no difference at this point with Tascosa coming forward.
Let's talk a little bit about that Tascosa game.
They're a scrappy football team. Coach King and his group beat them soundly the other day, but it was late in the game when Marquez kind of got loose on some plays, and they're scrappy and they play hard, and they're well coached, and you know, we had a hard time with them last year. They've got pretty much the same type of team that they had a year ago. They've got a couple of linebackers that didn't play against Coach King's team, but whether they're back or not, I don't know. But they're sound in what they do. They're special teams. They, you know, they'll fake a punt on you before help can get to you, and do it well and convert some of them. They converted 2 of those fake punts on us twice last year, and we had worked on it and practiced on it, and they had a good scheme to do that. And so we'll have to be on our toes and have to play well. And coming back off of an emotional win, you know, a lot of people think that's hard to do. I just think you go out and play hard every week, and that's what we're talking to our players about, and that's what we expect out of them. And this is a new game, and one of us is going to be 3-1 when this game is over, and I want it to be us and not them.
Now, are you a little concerned with distractions of homecoming and coming off that emotional game? And
yeah, I think homecoming can be a distraction if you allow it to be, and we'll talk to our players. I mean, typically homecoming is associated with a football game, and it's at a football game, and if it weren't for the football game, they would have it somewhere else, you know. So we want it to be a nice occasion and have a homecoming crowd that enjoys a victory.
Well, very good, Coach Gaines. Anything else you'd like to add about the state of the Permian Panthers?
Had a good crowd follow us up to Abilene the other day, and we appreciate them a whole lot.
Oh, very good, Coach. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
And this concludes this segment of the Coach's Corner.
So here are the keys.